And how do you leverage digital and mobile to create that customer experience and create a value to that customer experience? And how do you leverage, how do you deploy that digital behavior zone Lawrence earlier discussed? How can we create that omnichannel experience Joe mentioned earlier, using multiple, platforms and devices and various other technologies. So we got a wonderful lineup of speakers once again. I don't think anyone needs introduction to Supun, who is the head of Asiada in Bangladesh. Robbie Asiada, CEO. Great, wonderful to have you back, Supun, in Colombo. Thank you. So we have Atik. Atik is director of Saxis. I believe I pronounced it right. Most of the people don't know what Saxis is, I believe, because the name is not familiar, but that's one of the WPP companies engaged in cutting-edge digital programmatic advertising. So which is a discipline which is fast evolving. And to stay in the same place, I believe you have to run very, very fast. Because we have Naresh. Naresh is going to discuss, is e-commerce gaining traction at last? Okay. He works for a leading and innovative and pioneering digital, retailer or e-tailer or e-commerce company in Sri Lanka. Sunil, welcome to Colombo. Sunil is going to talk about something very, very special. With that said, if Facebook is a radio channel, that will be the largest radio channel in Sri Lanka, because we have over 4 million people on Facebook. Okay, I know that things like Snapchat and Instagram may not have come to that level, but people are adopting that fast. So Sunil's challenge today is to tell us how can we leverage social media, and how do we look at social media as a relationship between medium, rather than we collecting Facebook likes and sending a WhatsApp message here, the incoherent message. Rather than how do you build a kind of an ecosystem, kind of an interactive system, what Joe spoke earlier, how do we do that with SRM, social relationship media? And we have a great friend of ours, a tech executive turned to be a tech entrepreneur, Rohan. So congratulations for the journey you started. So may I leave the panel in your good hands, and please welcome our panel two.
Thank you.
All the best.
So I think Lakshman did a fantastic job and making sure at least good 3/4 of the audience back. So following the Lakshman's philosophy, no introduction. Supun, I believe you are first up. To talk about leveraging mobile for the digital advantage. Let's hear it from Supun first. Over to you.
Thank you, Rohan, and thank you, Lakshman. Good morning, everyone, and it's indeed a great privilege to be back in Sri Lanka to share some of the thoughts, what we have been doing in Bangladesh, as well as a group at Asiata. I will just start why we are talking about this digital and why we are talking about mobile leveraging this digital advantage. If you go back to the energy or electricity era, electricity was invented somewhere in 1800s, and then it took about a good 50 to 100 years to get all these appliances into place. First it started with the light bulb. And then thereafter the radio, the TV, all that came into being. Telecommunications also will go through the same journey. Why I say that? First it was about connecting places. We connected places in terms of landlines. So you can call from one house to the other, or one office to the other. Then we started connecting people. That is the second generation, or the mobiles. And now we are in the generation or era of connecting things. Just like your washing machine came into existence, or your hair dryer came into existence, everything and anything is connected to electricity. In future, you can imagine an era where everything and anything will be connected to the net. We call it Internet of Things. And how will this change the marketers? How will this change the consumer? How will this change the competition? I'll just touch upon some of the key areas that we need to look at when we go through this journey, and what are the things that we need to be mindful when we serve customers, and what are the opportunities that we can go after. I was reading a HBR article, and Michael Porter, being the author of Porter 5 Forces model on competition, he now is tweaking his model to reflect this new era of connected things. Because it is about new competition that is going to evolve. It is not the traditional competitor that you are going to fight with. The consumer is also smarter, and the supply chains will be different. So something that even the well-known academics are looking into and researching about. This is facilitated by end-to-end connectivity. We started pure mobile connectivity, but now it's about end-to-end connectivity. It is about connecting things, or connecting maybe the washing machine, maybe the fridge, or maybe the container that you have loaded into the ship. Anything can be connected and anything can be tracked. So this improvement in connectivity, improvement in technology has enabled this. From 2G to 3G to 4G to 5G. What is the biggest difference? It's about connectivity. It's about speed. Between 4G to 5G, you might think 4G is good enough. Why do you need 5G? With 4G, now Dialog announced 1 gig speed on 4.5G. So if 1 gig speed is there, why do you need 5G? 5G is about latency. So it will cut down the latency from 20 milliseconds to 1 millisecond. And it will also give 1 gigabit speed. So with that improvement in latency, you can do many more things. You can run driverless car, because the time it will take to give the reaction or the message is so short. You cannot run driverless car on a 4G network. You need 5G to have that optimum experience. Similarly, the technology is improving, and on technology, there's a lot of inventions are taking place. And beyond humans to Internet of Things. As I mentioned earlier, we are not talking only about humans anymore. We are talking about connecting things. And this is built on basic layer, which was initially about sensors, putting sensors all around, collecting information. And then we are putting controls, where we can send certain information to the sensor and then do certain functionality. Then the next stage is about pulling analytics, pulling data from those sensors, and getting insights out of that. So the Internet of Things and this machine learning is also getting advanced. The sensors that you had 2 years ago is not the sensors that you are going to have today. So this again will follow the same journey that what you have seen in electricity. And going digital is beyond growth. We are talking about growth, but it's about survival. It's purely about survival. If you don't go digital, you will not be existing next year or year after. There are so many organizations that have gone bust because they didn't adapt or they didn't move into the cycle fast enough. You know how fast Netflix is taking away cable TV customers. Similarly, Uber, Skype, Viber, all these OTTs are going to eat into the traditional businesses. So it is digital. Going digital is not only about creating new revenue streams. It is about survival. Either you go digital or you disappear or you die. It's so crucial because now the technologies have evolved. Consumer is very smart. Consumer has smartphones with them, and all the platforms are there. So you cannot postpone this decision or the journey towards digital any longer. So how do we do this? Why do I say mobile-centric digitalization? Why shouldn't it be PC-centric digitalization? And when we look at digitalization, everyone starts with shrink and squeeze. You try and move this PC world, your automated online PC experience to mobile. That is normally what we do. When we say we want to go mobile, we convert that PC online experience to mobile. Or should we look at mobile first? In 2013, when Facebook had a massive challenge in terms of building value, the share price just after the IPO in 2012 started coming down. They saw, how can we address this? How can we attract more advertisers? And they took a big decision, we are going to do mobile first. And how many organizations that we know are doing mobile first? Then how can we build customer experience? And how can we transform customer experience through digital? And I'll also talk about how can we disrupt businesses? Once your ground is safer, once you have sorted your end, how can we go and eat somebody else's lunch? So the shrink and squeeze model, it is not sustainable. Imagine, I think one example I've seen is that in banking, banks go online, maybe not in Sri Lanka. Banks go online and they say, from tomorrow, you can apply for your loan online, or you can apply for a lease online. What do? They put an interface on their website or on the mobile and say, send the request. And it is somebody, the same credit manager or credit officer who collects all these requests, processes it manually, and it takes 2 weeks, and then contacts the customer to give the update. So in the upfront, bank has gone online. Bank is digital. But is it real digital? Are they really using the power of digital technologies? Or are they just trying to put a wrapper around your traditional processes? If it's true digital, then the consumer should be able to get the answer whether he's getting the lease within 5 minutes, maximum 10 minutes. Because the bank should have all the data about that customer, about all the transactions, all the patterns. And if it's a new customer, again, when you put certain demographics, looking at similar customers, tell whether what is the kind of rating that we can give and what is the loan amount or lease amount that you can give. So the traditional approach is putting a wrapper around your current physical process or offline process. That is not going to work. Putting an app around your physical offline process is not going to work. You need to think fresh. Because otherwise, just conversion of your offline will be a miserable failure. So how do you do mobile first? When over the weekend I was looking at a mobile health app or health service. So the team was demonstrating to me on a PC, a nice interface. Then I said, can I see the mobile version? Because most of us will look at mobile. Unless you have so much of time at office, you will not have time for this personal stuff at office to do on a computer. You will do while on a traffic jam or while sitting at home. So that mobile experience has to be much better. But do we think mobile first? Or do we try to first do on a desktop and then try and fit it to the mobile? So mobile first is about starting mobile first. Why should we do mobile first? What is the reason for that? Because mobile is going to outpace PCs, has already outpaced the number of PCs by many fold. And this is even more relevant for markets like Sri Lanka, Bangladesh. For Bangladesh, 95% plus people are accessing the internet through mobile. They don't know what a desktop is in Bangladesh. Here also, apart from Colombo and the main cities, everyone will be going to the internet through the mobile. So that customer doesn't know what it is to access through a laptop, where the development will be done on the desktop. So there's a big disconnect, and that is why we need to start mobile. Mobile first also gives, or doing on mobile also has some constraints. And when you have constraints, you need to focus. You need to focus on the screen size. When it's smaller, it's much challenging. I've given 20 minutes, so I have to try and squeeze in within 20 minutes. If I have 1 hour, I can give more examples. If it's 5 minutes, then my task will be even more challenging. Similarly, the screen size. The smaller the screen size becomes, how can you deliver a good experience, a relevant experience? And the network speed. How important the network speed, or how do we overlook the network speed? We recently launched a music app in Bangladesh. Within 2 weeks, we have about 150,000 downloads. But that app was developed in New York. But in Bangladesh, we are just 3G and most of it is 2G. So the 2G customer gets a lousy experience because it's not optimized for that environment. Because in New York, they don't know what is 2G. That is why Facebook has labs focusing on 2G environment, 2.5G, and 3G, as well as 4G. Because we tend to disconnect from the consumer. And network speed matters a lot. Whether you keep the customer with you, if it's more than 10 milliseconds in terms of time that it will take to load the page, 10 seconds, then you tend to lose the customer. 17 seconds, you lose about 40% of customers. They go away. It's boring. You don't want to look at a page loading for more than 10, 15 seconds. So speed matters. You need to optimize your app. You need to optimize your experience. You shouldn't be developing on a 4G environment and when the consumer is going to use on GPRS or Edge. Similarly, the modes of use. In the PC world, it's more like that home, work. It's more nomadic. But in mobile, it's varying situations. You will not get the fullest attention of the consumer, but he expects the application to work fine. That again is a big challenge. Maybe while walking or while talking to someone, you want to use the app. Or you end up using the app, and if the experience is bad, you complain. So you need to be mindful of that situation, and you need to optimize your app development. The best example that we have is the Dialog Self-Care app. We have ported this to Bangladesh as well. This won the GSM World Award in 2015. Again, it's built on mobile first. When I was at Dialog in 2010-11, we tried, I think, 2-3 times to develop, but this is after like the third iteration. Managed to get it right, because also with this we looked at all the underlying layers of platforms, not to just put a wrapper and say that we have a self-care app, but to look at all the plumbing, all the processes, and make sure that it is digital friendly, so that customer can get that 360 experience. And that is why the GSM Association recognized for customer service framework. It's not only an app, because app alone cannot deliver if the framework and the plumbing is not ready. And then how do we, once you have done that, how do we move from mobile first to customer service transformation? How can we transform customer experience? How can we win customers and win in every moment of the consumer? It is also about moving from multi-channel. In order to win in every moment, you have to move from multi-channel to a omni-channel experience. You will be serving customers across multiple channels. Through CRMs, if you are lucky, we will have fairly good understanding of those interactions. But that is not perfect. And we need to put the consumer at the center, not the channel at the center. And make sure consumer can look at an offer on wow.lk and come and purchase at the Dialog outlet. Or can look at the offer on Dialog outlet and go and purchase it on wow.lk. But that experience has to be seamless. And to do that, you need to make sure each system is connected. This is easier said than done. Because especially in the telecoms world, we have grown over a period of last 20 years. And there are separate systems, and each doesn't talk to the other. But customer doesn't care. Customer wants that single experience. And that is what we need to deliver. This is one journey of a customer, day in the life of a customer who goes through, wakes up, go to office, has lunch. But as a mobile service provider, we have only a very little bit of time with him. Maybe while coming to office, because after office he's at Wi-Fi network, at home he's on the Wi-Fi network. So how do we serve him? How do we win in every moment that he's there? Not only that 10% time he's with the mobile network. And in order to do that, you need to also make sure that all your channels, all your interactions are connected. This opens up a new dimension in terms of monetization thereafter, because you don't lose the customer and he's there throughout the day. How has Dialog done this? When Dialog looked at this challenge, they looked at how to move from mass customer to a niche and to the segment of one. Because every customer wants that personalized experience. And that is the power of digital. Using the power of digital, you can make that personalized experience without burning your P&L. Without burning down your company, you can deliver that personalized experience. And this was addressed by looking at two areas. One is automating processes, the other one is digital analytics. So together with automated processes and analytics, you can make sure that you can give an offer which is very relevant to that customer instantly. Or when you serve that customer, you can make sure that you send a offer to upsell, again, because of combination of analytics and automated processes. So we might tend to look at automating processes but overlook analytics. What do we do with the information that we collect? And how can we create a better experience? How can we use that information to give a personalized experience? In the interest of time, I will not go through much. This is also about covering the journey, consumer journey, and mapping the consumer journey, making sure this basic principle of automation of processes and analytics come together to give relevant services, relevant application in every stage of the journey.
Supun.
So driving deeper engagement, the third one is about using social media. And social media is also a very powerful tool. You can listen, talk, share, and transact. It is kind of the enabler in terms of customer interactions. Our case study here is about Robi. We have spent a lot of time in Bangladesh to nurture this space, because this, we believe, is the ideal platform to reach customers, because we have also a very large young population. About 70% is below 30 years of age. And Robi is the world's #1 in terms of most socially devoted brand in the world. We were the world's #1 in Q3 of 2015, and Q4 we had to shut down social media on government instructions. And Q1 2016, again, we are the #1 in terms of socially devoted brands. And what does it mean? Having number of followers, response rate, response time, and answering most of the questions.
So,
This by no means an easy task, but something that has given so much value to the brand. It has given so much of benefits, as well as helped to attract young customers.
Supun.
Yeah, done. I won't go through much. Lakshman is. So the one last one I want to just share in terms of enabling. How do we enable all this? Easier said than done as enterprises. How can we enable? Imagine the era of voice where you have international gateways. When AT&T or Vodafone wants to send a call to Sri Lanka, they connect to something called an international gateway. And you don't know, your friend in UK can call direct because they have a connectivity to that gateway. Similarly, in the internet world, there's no such gateway where if Google or if Samsung was to send an offer to our customer who also knows what is the age, whether we can do a billing transaction with that customer, whether he knows the location, all that information is not exposed. But we have built this, Axiata has built this gateway called Mobile Internet Fulfillment Exchange, or MIFE, which gives all this information through APIs. And third parties can integrate with this gateway. It's kind of a hub. And we have deployed this hub across all Axiata opcos. So if Samsung wants to send an offer and reach all the Axiata markets, 260 million customers, they just need to connect to that hub. Or if Unilever wants to do a regional campaign, they can just connect to that hub and reach out to all our 260 million plus customers. So with that, I'll conclude. In terms of digital revolution has begun, I think either you go digital or disappear. Mobile is going to lead the digitalization. There's no doubt about that. And when you go that journey, avoid shrink and squeeze, try go mobile first, and leverage on the power of digital for customer experience in terms of omni-channel, in terms of winning every moment of the consumer, and can you go from mass to segment of one through automation of processes and analytics, and using social media for deeper engagement. And finally, the MIFE gateway or hub to enable all this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Supun.